Okay, students, I wanted to do one more video that was a lot shorter with some easier examples to start with. From the last video, I think you can start to see what I mean by like terms and why I say that they have similar math properties. So like these two terms are alike or like terms because they both have a coefficient and a variable and no exponent, okay? And the variable's the same. They're both k. So this is negative 6k and this is 7k, and that makes them alike. I think you guys can start to see that they're alike. If one of these had an exponent, well, that's different. So now these would be no longer alike. Now these are different types of terms, okay? So to combine these, I simply say, okay, I have negative 6k and I have 7k. I combine them like an addition problem. And positive 7 plus negative 6 is positive 1 because these 6 negatives are going to be 0 pairs with 7 of these positives, and there's going to be only 1 positive left over. And then this is a good reminder because remember, this would come out to be 1k, but like I told you in math, we rarely write 1k. We usually, my co-teacher, a friend of mine, likes to say mathematicians are lazy. And whenever they can take shortcuts, they do. And so we know that this is 1k, so we don't have to write 1k. So the answer would just look like that, just k. Okay? So here's our next one. This has 4 terms, a variable term, a constant term, another variable term, and another constant term. Okay? These two are going to be alike. And we always do the variables before the constants. Okay? So, and then I also want to remind you to include the sign, the operation, with the term, and that becomes like its sign, like a positivo or negativo signo. That word is hard for me. And then this one's like a positive n. And then what I can do is I can use a different color or I can use a different shape. So here I'm just going to use, I chose a different shape and color. And remember to include the operation when you separate out your terms. And then now we can combine. And remember, like I said, we always start with the variable term first, okay? So if I have 1n and then 9 n's, together I get 10 n's. So I get 10n. And then I don't know if I'm going to write plus or minus yet because I need to look at these terms first. So I have 10 negatives and 3 negatives, which just makes 13 negatives. But I'm going to write it as minus 13. You guys, I taught you keep, change, and so a subtract can be the same thing as a negative because I could change it to plus a negative. Okay? And one of these days I have to show you why, but for now I'd like you to try and trust me. I hate saying that to kids. That's the worst thing that you can say. But so writing subtract 8 is the same thing as saying plus negative 8. I think you guys can kind of understand that. That helps a little bit. I like the way I just put that right there. Okay. So I could write, I have negative 13. I could write plus negative 13, but in combining like terms, it's more traditional that we write, and that's not wrong, but it's more traditional that we say, okay, I have negative 10 and negative 3, that makes negative 13, so I write minus 13. That is how we tend to do that. Okay? And I think I have one more simpler example for you. Yes. Okay, so I have just 2 terms here. Okay? Negative 4x, and this is going to be a negative 10x. These are the same term. They're like terms. So we can combine them because they both have a variable, the same variable, and there's no exponent. So I'm going to just circle this with the sign and circle that with the sign, and I'm going to combine them like an integer addition problem. So -4 plus -10 is -14. So this simplifies to -14x, and that is the final answer. And I just thought of one more I want to do for you. A lot of times you'll see like 9 plus 2x minus 3x plus 4xy. And we haven't done one like that with this 4xy. But that's, you see stuff like that, okay? That's not uncommon, it's not weird. And this looks like an F, so I have to rewrite it. 9 plus. Okay, so here's how we would, this would be 4 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And when we decide what is alike, so we've got this 9. Do I have any other constant terms? Just numbers, no variables? No. Okay, so then I've got that 2x. Do I have another term that's like that? Yeah, I have this -3x. And then lastly, I've got positive 4xy. And this is all by itself too. But if I had written plus 3xy, actually, let me undo, and then plus 3xy, and then I'm going to do this one, I could combine these. These would be like terms because they're both an xy, the variables are the same, and there's no power, and so this would then become, and we would do these first. These would be first because they have more variables. So we'd have 4xy plus 3xy is 7xy. So we'd have 7xy. And then we would do these ones next, these variable terms next. They're variable terms because they have a variable in them. Okay, so we have positive 2x's and negative 3x's, which if you combine those like an addition integer problem, you get -1x. So we could write -1x, but remember we don't do that. We're going to just write minus x, okay? And then lastly, we just have a 9 all by itself, so we're going to write plus 9. Okay, guys. This is a little bit confusing, and that's okay. Feel free to get help from from the teachers. Remember, there's 4 of us. Okay, so if you're feeling confused, I can make another video, and we can help you. So, good job. Thank you. Gracias y shukran.